No sharas Kushakicakagahvaram Eka evati atoham Adraksham vipinam mahat Ghoram pratibhayakaram Vyalo luka shivajiram Nalavenu sharastanba Kushakicakagahvaram Eka evati atoham Adraksham vipinam mahat Ghoram pratibhayakaram Vyalo luka shivajiram Nalavenu sharastanba Kushakicakagahvaram Eka evati atoham Adraksham vipinam mahat Ghoram pratibhayakaram Vyalo luka shivajiram Nalavenu sharastanba Kushakicakagahvaram Eka evati atoham
Adraksham vipinam mahat Ghoram pratibhayakaram Vyalo luka shivajaram Nalavenu sarastamba
Fine grave Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Translation with repetition. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Purport. It is the duty of a mendicant, Parivrajakacarya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. A sannyasi is duty bound to take all these risks without fear. And the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. In this age of Kali, sannyasa is forbidden for ordinary men. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only a formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of a sannyasi, and in this age of Kali, the so-called sannyasis should not change their former names, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended, and one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivrajakacarya like Narada or Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Thus ends a wonderful transcendental purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today's verse is a very interesting verse, full of description of the biodiversity of the age at the time in the previous Kalpa, the previous day of Brahma, when Narada Muni was going through the landscape. Let us just see the verse. Nalavenu Sharastanba Kushakichaka Gahwaram Eka Evatiyatoham Adraksham Vipinam Mahat Ghoram Pratibhayakaram Vyalo Luka Shivajiram. So in this there are several species, or several types of vegetation, animals have been described. Nala, pipes, Venu is bamboo, Sharaha, pens, Tanba means full of, Kusha, we've all heard of Kusha grass, Kusha, Kichaka, Kichaka are weeds, Gahvaram is cave, Eka Evatiyatoham, Eva Atiyataha means very difficult to go through. And did I go with many accompaniments or many of the associates? No, I went alone. Eka Eva, just me alone. I went through all these places which were very difficult to go through. And I saw those places, Adraksham, I visited them in deep forest, Vipinam Mahat. Vipinam is forest, Mahat is great, deep forest. So in all these great deep forests, there were a variety of plants which were making it very difficult to penetrate. Ghoram Pratibhayakaram, very fearful and dangerous looking animals. And what kind of animals were these? Snakes, owls, uluka, Shiva, jackals, and ajiram. And these are all playgrounds. So they were just enjoying, frolicking around these dangerous animals without any care, without any fear. And those who would go there, definitely would have been very fearful for a very young boy whose mother had just passed away. And he has accepted this situation as a mercy of the Bhakti Vedantas. And he is proceeding in the northern direction and is encountering these. Now, one may think that when the day of Brahma is over and there is a complete destruction of the creation of all the living entities who are there up to Satyaloka, all other living entities are destroyed. And again, species come into forth. You may think that, okay, maybe they'll be completely different. The language itself will not be there. Like there'll be some, maybe grass will have eyes or some trees will have tails. You may think like that because our minds are conditioned to think in such creative ways, to speculate. So we're all taught to speculate like this because anything is possible. But here, very interesting that in the previous day of Brahma, these species were existing. Nala, Venu, Sharas, Tanba, Kusha, Kichaka, Gahvaram. So caves were there, the hills were there, the plains were there, rivers, they were all there. And these are all things that many of them occur in marshy lands. Nala, Venu, Sharaha, Tamba, Kusha, sharp grass. These are all actually invasive. They're all species that occur when there are marshy lands with a lot of water, backwaters. So they are not easy to traverse through. It will be areas which are partially wet, wetlands. So they were all existing before. In the previous age of Brahma also, these were existing. And Narad Muni went through them alone as a boy, small boy. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboos, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which are playgrounds of snakes, owls, and jackals. I never know how to say jackals. Is it jackals, jackals? I'm not sure. So please excuse that pronunciation. Every time is different. So this forests we see, actually, I did not know some of these plants. What is rushes? I'd never heard of them before. What's a reed? I only know of a reed in harmonium. in har- Marshy grass. Okay, and then um, there is kichaka weeds. Of course, we all know weeds, but and then caves we know. Um, so rushes, bamboo, reeds. I thought maybe I'll share with you for those of you who don't know. Some of you might have studied this or said this, read this. But these are actually very common plant species in throughout America and throughout the world. So let me just share with you some pictures. What is um, the rushes, right? Kusha. So you can see here there are a lot of detailed drawings available on the internet. You can see what these different species are. What's a reed? And a lot of detailed studies have been done on cataloging the differences in the leaf pattern. For example, rush has an alternate leaf pattern, whereas a sedge has a spiral stem, and grass has an alternate leaf pattern. But grass has uh, enclosed petals of a flower, so it does not really have a blooming flower, grass, whereas rush has a blooming flower. So you can see there's a photograph. And reeds. So reeds, the picture that you see, they are reeds. The photograph on the right hand side, they are reeds. So very, very commonly available. They have a thicker stem, a little bit hollower stem. And then, so there are these descriptions available. Now, if you see in entire Bhagavatam, there are several such mentions of species. So there are, after all, how many species? No, you had some other answer. 12 million? 12 species? 400 lakhs. 400,000. No, that is just human species, what you're talking about. Yeah, according to Bhagavatam, there are 8.4 million species and 400,000 species of humans. So overall, 8.4 million, 84 lakhs, 8.4 million. So all these different species are there, and there is a mention of all of these. But whereas, if you see in modern science, and if you wanted to understand what is science, what is knowledge, it starts by classification of different things that we see around us. Classification of matter, and those scientists who have classified very systematically, like the Mendeleev's periodic table, classifying all the elements, the basic elements, and then molecules, compounds, etc. They're all greatly glorified, and everybody has to study them in school. And then there are other scientists who have gone by, who have studied in detail life forms. And after several centuries of informal classification, then there was a scientific nomenclature, binomial nomenclature of species, genera, and family, all those things. Detailed description of each one of them, each species, each family, each genre, and categories, vertebrates, invertebrates, very detailed. And then students, when they go to school, they have to study cross-section of all these different tissues, and the bones, the flesh, all those things, blood, right? A lot of those things are studied in great detail. So one may wonder that if Bhagavatam is the highest science, after all, Vedanta, Bhagavatam is a commentary on Vedanta. Vedanta is the ultimate knowledge, end of all knowledge. Then why is it that there is no cross-section of a grass? Why is, when Narada Muni is explaining that I went as a boy, then why is Vyasadeva not immediately asking, but did you take a cross-section and study? Because after all, you're going for self-realization of knowledge. You wanted to get knowledge. Did the Bhakti Vedantist did not teach you what is the difference between a rush and a reed? Did they not put it under a microscope and get you to study? Can you please share that knowledge with me? One may wonder like that. Because when we go to school, we are expected to learn these things. So there was once a conversation like this that happened between a professor of physics at the University of California, Irvine, professor of physics, who met Srila Prabhupada, and they were having an exchange of knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada asks by starting that in your universities, what is the knowledge, current knowledge among the scientists about the spirit soul? The spirit soul? No, we do not have any knowledge about that. So immediately Prabhupada says, oh, that means you have not made any scientific advancement at all. This is the first, immediately he says that. And immediately that physics professor says, no, we have other branches of knowledge. We have several other branches of knowledge are there. And then that conversation goes on a little bit. I would like to quote one portion of that conversation here. This professor, he says that, look, you may have a knowledge of soul, but how can I verify it? Unless something is verified either logically or experientially, I cannot take it as evidence. So does your science of soul, does it have one of these categories of proof? And immediately Prabhupada said, yes, I can prove it to you logically. And he says, how so? And then he gives a description of how when we were a child, there was a different body. When we became older, that body is different, but I remain the same. And then the professor says, no, but it's a different person. Obviously, child is a different person. I'm a different person. It's a completely different being. But then Prabhupada says, no. You ask your mother, are you a different person or the same person? She will say, no, he's my son. Earlier he was a child, now he has become a man. You ask your other family members, you ask your friends, you ask your school teacher, they will all say it's the same person. There is so much of overwhelming evidence that you are the same person, and yet your body has changed completely. So the fact that you're the same person and everybody is attesting to this, that is evidence that you are the same person. But the fact that the body is completely different shows that the body is different. So this way, logically, it can be proved that the soul is different from the body. So like this, they were having a discussion. And then the professor of physics, he says, but that may be one kind of knowledge. But then why are you not studying about, say, grass? Let's say I take this one piece of grass, and then I can study in detail about this. Why is that not important to you? That should also be given importance. Knowledge is knowledge after all. Then Prabhupada says, suppose I take this grass. Now I'm reading from the quote. I can write volumes of books when it comes into existence, when it died, what the fibers are, what the molecules are. In so many ways, I can describe this insignificant foliage. But what is the use of it? Dr. Benford, if it has no use, why did God put it there? Isn't it worthwhile studying? See, there is a, if after all, if there is a grass, it must have a purpose. If God has put it there, one must study it. And in today's verse also, Prabhupada says that the duty of a sannyasi, you saw in the first line in the purport, it is to go through the creation and try to understand God's creation. So the purpose of a sannyasi is to go out and try to understand God's creation. That's what the first line of the purport says. And grass is part of God's creation. Is it not worthwhile? Try to study what is inside a cell. Is it not important? Very valid question. Prabhupada says, our point is, would you rather study the insignificant grass than the God who has created everything? If you could understand him, uppercase H, him, that is not the grass. He's talking about God who created the grass. If you could understand him, then automatically you will understand the grass. But you want to separate his grass from him, to study it separately. In this way, you can compile volumes and volumes on the subject. But why waste your intelligence in that way? The branch of a tree is beautiful as long as it is attached to the main trunk. But as soon as you cut it off, it will dry up. Therefore, what is the use of studying a dried up branch? It is a waste of intelligence. So here Prabhupada is introducing a concept. If you want to separate his grass from him, so when we separate the matter around us, when we separate the things we see around us from God, that becomes a useless branch. And we'll see subsequently how that is also the cause of anxiety and fear. So then let us see what Dr. Benford says. Dr. Benford, but why is it a waste? Srila Prabhupada, certainly it is a waste because the result is not useful. Well, what is useful? Prabhupada, it is useful to know yourself, what you are. And then Dr. Benford asks a very, very insightful and very direct question. What you are, based on this answer of Prabhupada, he says, why is the knowledge of myself better than the knowledge of a plant? He's asking this question. See, this is the quality of question. These kind of questions, when they come in the mind, we should ask, and politely we should ask. Dr. Benford here is not rude. He's not speaking in a raised voice. He is not saying, ha, you don't know anything. He, as a true scientist, he actually wants to know. There is an inherent curiosity in him. He has a certain worldview based upon his conditioned upbringing. But when presented, when coming face to face with a personality such as Srila Prabhupada, whose very sight gives a person respectable personality, immediately he is humbly putting this question. But why is my knowledge about myself, why is it better than knowledge of the plant? After all, it is also God's creation. I'm also God's creation. Why should I study myself? Prabhupada says, if you understand what you are, then you understand other things. This is called Atma Tattva, Atma Jnana, self-knowledge. That is important. I am a spirit soul, and I am passing through so many species of life. But what is my position? I don't wish to die because I'm afraid to change bodies. Therefore, I'm afraid of death. So this question should be raised first. I don't want unhappiness. Unhappiness comes. I don't want death, but death comes. I don't want disease. Disease comes. I don't want to become an old man, but old age comes anyway. What is the reason that these things are coming by force? Who is enforcing these things? I do not know. But these are the real problems. I don't want excessive heat, but there is excessive heat. Why? Who is enforcing these things? Why are they being enforced? I don't want this heat. What have I done? These are the real questions. Not just studying foliage and writing volumes of books. That is a waste of energy. Study yourself. So this is actually the purpose behind the entire Vedic literature. The entire Vedic literature is to try to understand why are we put into these difficulties. That's a real inquiry of life. And that is also the purpose behind which all the Bhakti Vedantas, they were imparting the knowledge to Sri Narada Muni. The purpose is to understand oneself. So there is a fear. If you see here, Prabhupada is talking about some cause of fear. What is my position? I don't wish to die because I'm afraid to change bodies. Therefore, I'm afraid of death. So our fear is coming from a reluctance to change our body. Because what is it that is that really causes fear? So we will see in some verses in Bhagavatam, there is a description, wonderful description of what causes fear. But here Prabhupada is saying that the fear is caused by our attachment to our current body. Because I have this nice body and I believe that this is me. Somebody suddenly says, can you please give your body? I'll give you a better, different body. How many of us will gladly say, yes, yes, I want an upgrade. So sometimes we want an upgrade for the car, right? Or the phone. It is my car, so I don't mind having an upgrade. My phone, I don't mind having an upgrade for the phone. I will very much look forward to it. But what about me, the body? I am the body. That is our consciousness. Therefore, we don't want an upgrade for the body. No, I don't want. I'm happy with my current body. Whatever it is, when I look at myself in the mirror, I may be a 50-year-old man or an 80-year-old man. Doesn't matter. I look so handsome. Such nice hair. Oh, beautiful. Look at this color of shade of gray. Just the right color of shade of gray. Whatever I had before, the black color and all, so bad. Now, this is the right color of gray. This is how it should be. And just look at the right wrinkles on the eyes, below the eyes, and just right amount of wrinkles. This is the exact body which how did Krishna know that this is what I wanted? So wonderful. I don't want to let go of this. So this is and somebody says, no, give it to me. I'll give you something better. I'll give you Rajnikant body or whatever it is, whatever be the ideal person that you might have. Will anybody take? Nobody will take. You want this body only. So I'm afraid to change bodies. That's the cause of fear. So now let us see some of these verses in Bhagavatam that talk about fear and what is the process of overcoming fear. So there is this verse in 7th canto that says, Shoka moha bhaya krodha raga klaibya shamadayah yanmoolasyo nrinam jahyat spriham pranathayor buddha. So this is giving you mula, yan mula, the root cause of these material afflictions, including shoka, moha, bhaya, krodha, lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, attachment, klaibya, Scribium masmaga partha, I'm trying to remember, we'll see in the translation. Shrama adayaha, shrama, labor, a lot of labor, that hard work that we do. Is it weakness? Weakness, Scribium. Yan mula shur nrinam jahyat. So what is the cause? What is the cause of these for the people? Spriham pranathayor buddha. So let us see what the translation is. Those in the human society who are intelligent, Buddha, those who are Buddha, what should they do? They should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, attachment, poverty. So poverty, Clibium here is translated as poverty, and unnecessary labor. So here Bhagavatam is not saying give up your anger. He's saying give up the root cause of anger. It's not saying give up your fear. He's saying give up the root cause of fear. And what is it, the root cause? The original cause of all of these is the desire for unnecessary prestige and money. There's a desire for unnecessary prestige and money. That is the root cause that has been given in Bhagavatam. So one must give up these unnecessary desire for unnecessary prestige and money. And we have studied in teachings of Lord Chaitanya also how puja, pratishtha, labha, these are all the obstacles in the weeds that must be uprooted, the weeds that hamper the growth of the creeper of devotional service. So this unnecessary prestige and money comes under atyahara prayasascha, prajalpa niyamagraha, then laulyam, before laulyam, janasangasya laulyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. So bhakti gets destroyed, vinashyati happens. So bhakti gets diminished or attacked by these weeds. What are these weeds? Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha. So the first one in that, first weed, the biggest obstacle is atyahara. Atyahara means collecting more than necessary, eating more than necessary. That is ati ahara. Ahara is eating. Atyahara means eating excessively. And what it means really is eating excessively means wanting to enjoy, wanting to live luxuriously. And in order to do that, one must collect a lot of money. One must endeavor a lot in order for us to have wealth so that we can then enjoy that wealth. So this atyahara is a very big obstacle. And here that is being said that one thing, atyahara, and this unnecessary prestige, puja, these two together, they are actually responsible for so many of the negative qualities. That is shoka, moha, bhaya, krodha, raga, klaibya, shamadaya. So let us see the next part. There is a in this verse there is a purport given by Prabhupada, and the purport he talks about the difference between the Vedic civilization versus a modern demoniac civilization, and we'll see how that relates to the current verse. So the Vedic civilization, Prabhupada says, the main concern is how to achieve self-realization, whereas in the modern demoniac civilization, the goal is eat, drink, make merry. In the Vedic civilization, the goal is to have minimum income for maintaining body and soul together, whatever is necessary. At the time, there was Varnashrama Dharma that was followed, wherein money was needed for discharge of duty. For example, in the Varnashrama, you have Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas have to administer the society, and for that you require weapons, you require to engage people, and you require resources for that. And therefore, the Kshatriya was allowed to collect wealth, to grow the wealth. Why? Because that is necessary for the discharge of their duty. And also, the ordinary people, they respect somebody who's opulent in a position of power. So in order to show the power, because showing of power is very important aspect of being able to administer a group of people. So for showing of power, wealth is necessary, and therefore Kshatriyas were allowed to accumulate wealth. Then when it comes to, say, Brahmanas, Brahmanas did not require money for their pursuit of knowledge, and to show the path to the Kshatriyas, to show the path to other communities. They did not require any wealth. Therefore, Brahmanas were not accumulating wealth. When it comes to the mercantile or the Vaishyas, they had a cow, they would have agricultural land, they would till the land, and by tilling the land, if there is some excess wealth that is generated or excess grains that are produced, they are allowed to trade. So if somebody is producing only rice, there is a lot of rice, they can trade it and get some wheat, get some vegetables, get some spices, so that they can continue with their family and grahastha life. But the goal for all of that was how to achieve self-realization. But in the modern demonic civilization, the goal, what is the goal? The goal is to maximize income, to work hard so as to maximize the income. Atyahara, that is the goal. There are no Kshatriyas or Brahmanas. The only so-called workers are there, and there is a flourishing mercantile class who have no goal in life. So this is the current situation versus the ideal situation, which was there in the Vedic civilization. And previously, sannyasa was taken with a particular purpose. What is the purpose? To achieve self-realization. The purpose of sannyasa is taken to achieve ultimate perfection in life. Sannyasa is taken after brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, etc. After a person has executed their duties towards the society. But today, what do people think? If there is a sannyasi, it means they're thinking they're running away from responsibility. They think they are a burden on the society. Parasites. They think of them as the parasites of the society. The sannyasi is a parasite because they're running away. They have enjoyed their life. They have taken whatever they can. Now they're running away from fulfilling the responsibility of the society, and they're just living on the alms that are given out of pity by others. This is how people think about sannyasis. But that is not actually a sannyasi. Sannyasi has taken brahmachari. He has led his life in brahmacharya. He has led his life as a grahastha, contributing to the society, raising Krishna conscious children, and then taken vanaprastha, gradual retirement, and then he has taken sannyas. So these are the steps in which sannyasa is taken with the goal of self-realization. So when we think of a sannyasi, we should realize that that person epitomizes this goal. That goal in a sannyasi is very strong. So a person who has renounced worldly life, has cut off ties from the family, that person is doing it not for some prestige. He's not doing it for show bottle spirituality, where somebody simply wants to show off that, yes, I am advancing. Not for that reason. There is a goal, how to achieve self-realization. And that is what is driving all their actions. So now let us see how that goal translates into the various stages of sannyasa. So this we already talked about. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo nimagraha janasangascha laulyamcha shadbhir bhakti vinashyati. Prabhupada says that a sannyasi should have an institution meant to preach Krishna consciousness. He need not accumulate money for himself. We recommend that as soon as money accumulates in our Krishna conscious movement, 50% of it should be invested in printing of books, 50% for expenditures, especially in establishing centers all over the world. The managers of the Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely cautious in this regard to this point. Otherwise, money will be the cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, material attachment, material poverty, and unnecessary hard work. So money is the cause. So when we try to work for money, when we try to work for prestige, we are forgetting our goal of life. And that becomes a problem, cause of all these things. And then there is this wonderful verse that is quoted that further describes the cause of fear. The cause of fear. What is the cause of fear? So we just saw, Sridhar Prabhu, what is the cause of fear? We just saw. There are two causes, as mentioned previously. Mukund? Fear of changing bodies was there in Prabhupada's purport, but in the verse itself that was quoted, there were two causes of fear given. Prestige. Unnecessary prestige. Was it unnecessary desire for prestige or desire for unnecessary prestige? Desire for unnecessary prestige. Okay. So there are two causes given. Now there is a third cause that is given, which is a further root, even more root. Why are we having this desire for unnecessary prestige? Why are we having this desire for more money? Why are we having this desire, fear of changing our body? So there is an actual further root cause that is given in this wonderful quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Madhya Leela in 20th chapter. Bhayam dvitiya biniveshita syad ishad abetasya viparyayo spritihi tanmayayato buddha abhajetam bhaktyekayesham guru devatatma. Bhayam dvitiyabhiniveshita syad. Prabhupada quotes this very often, this verse. Bhayam, just this phrase, Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshita syad. And this entire verse is so wonderful. We should really memorize it. And it is at the core of what causes material anxiety and fear. This verse, particularly, if we can remember and implement this and just always keep this in our mind, then we will check ourselves from falling into the trap, which will then lead to illusion, anger, fear, attachment, every one of those things. So the first line says, Bhayam, that is fear. What is the cause of fear? Dvitiya abhiniveshitah syat. That is to think that I am the product of this material nature, different from Krishna. So there is Krishna and this Krishna's grass. Like Prabhupada said, thinking of the grass as separate from Krishna is the cause of our problems. So Dvitiya abhiniveshitah syat means that I am separate, I have nothing to do with Krishna. And this matter that I see all around me, that has produced me. I have come through an evolution of matter, combining in different proportions by the effect of other kinds of matter, such as the sun rays. Because that is the current scientific thinking is that there is earth with all the nutrients, and under heavy temperature pressure, they became more and more complex molecules. Then there were proteins that formed, and all of this is called primordial soup. Primordial soup, where the earth was considered to be a semi-solid, a liquid crust. It was not a hard crust at the time. And the oceans, there are oceans of water, and those oceans of water developed protein. And when the sun rays fell upon that water in the ocean, the proteins became more complex proteins. And then the DNA was formed, RNA was formed, single-celled animals were formed, etc., etc. This theory is nothing but Dvitiya abhiniveshitaha. And what it causes? Bhayam. The next line, Ishad apetasya viparyayo spritihi. So that is the exact why does Dvitiya abhiniveshita is happening? Because Ishad apetasya, other than Krishna, we are thinking that we are not connected to Krishna, we have nothing to do with Krishna, and this kind of thinking is called viparyayo smritihi. That is distinct, separate from Krishna. It is a reverse. Actually, we are part and parcel of Krishna. Actually, we have no existence outside of Krishna. But the exact opposite of that is to Krishna. Viparyayo spritihi means nothing to do with Krishna. Tan mayayato buddha abhajetam. So therefore, if somebody wants to get out of this illusion, those who are intelligent and want to overcome this, they should abhajet, they should worship tam bhaktya kayesham guru devatatma, considering the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Guru and the Supreme Lord. So let us see what the translation is. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. So when he is attracted by the material energy, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called viparyayo smritihi. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the spiritual master, worshipful deity, and the source of life. This is very important because we are always considering where did I come from? The question of who am I has a corollary question, where did I come from? Because that immediately comes, where did I come from? And that where did I come from, of course, immediate causes parents, and their causes parents, and their causes parents. But we should know that the root cause of all of us is not a primordial soup acted upon by ultraviolet rays coming from the sun. Rather, the source of life is Krishna. He is a worshipful deity, he is our spiritual master, and he is a source of life. Thus, such an intelligent person worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. Now, let us see what are the, I'll give you some steps, in 3 steps in which such a person begins to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How to get over this viparyaya smriti. Exactly the word is viparyayo smriti. Viparyayo smriti. So all of you please repeat. Viparyayo smriti. Viparyayo smriti. What does it mean? Yes. We become Krishna's, instead of understanding our position as eternal servant of Krishna, we become Krishna's competitor. We have nothing to do with Krishna. Means I'm not source, I'm not coming from Krishna, I'm coming from matter. Well, why do I need Krishna? After all, already earth was there, some matter was there, somehow it got created from Big Bang, whatever it may be. Krishna has nothing to do with it. So Krishna need not come and tell me anything about me. I am as good as Krishna. This is Viparyayo Smriti. So this verse is another quote from Bhagavatam in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhavapavargo brahmato yada bhavaj janmasya tarhi achyuta satsamagamaha satsangamo yarhi tadaiva sadgutau paravareshe tvai jayate ratihi. So a person who is desirous of bhava apavarga. So we have studied how pavarga represents this material world. And in this pavarga, there are 5 elements that cause suffering. What are these 5 elements of pavarga? Anyone online?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Huh? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Can I go ahead, Prabhu, or someone
Go ahead,
else?
Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Please go ahead. Sukirti Prabhu.
Pavarga. Pa is parishrama. Fa is fena. Ba is banda. Bha is bhaya. Ma is mrityu.
Wonderful, very nice. So in this, bha, bhaya is included in the pavarga. So if somebody has to overcome bhaya or fear, they have to become apavarga. So if somebody wants to bhava apavarga, that is this material existence that we are having, if you want to overcome that, then Bhagavatam says that such a person should, somebody who is eligible for such a liberation from the material bondage is given an opportunity. Achyuta satsamagamaha. Achyuta satsamagamaha means he is given an opportunity to associate with the devotees of the Lord. A person who has attained eligibility to become liberated from pavarga, from bhava pavarga, if they want to become bhava apavarga, right? So from bhava pavarga, somebody has attained eligibility for attaining bhava apavarga, then what happens? The Lord gives him opportunity to associate with Achyuta Sat Samagamaha, with the devotees of the Lord. But does it automatically mean he gets liberated? No, there is something that person has to do. What is that something? The next line says, Satsangamo yarhi tadaiva sadgatau. When he actually associates with such persons, then paravareshe tvai jayate ratihi. Then he gets attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotional service, devotional bhakti, it develops. So there is an eligibility, or there's an opportunity, and there's actually associating. So the first step is that we are all given an opportunity to associate with Srila Prabhupada and the devotees of Prabhupada. So the question is, are we utilizing that opportunity? So because somebody, it is actually causeless mercy of Prabhupada that we are given the opportunity. But here in Bhagavatam it is said there is eligibility also. But actually, Prabhupada's mercy is causeless. That is how it is. We should think about it. We should not think that we have become eligible for liberation. Actually, we are not eligible for liberation. But Bhagavatam is saying that if you have become eligible, then you'll be given an opportunity. Somehow or the other, we have got opportunity. But the important thing is, from the point where we have got opportunity, we have to take a step. And that step is to actually associate with the devotee. Oh my Lord, O infallible Supreme Person, when a person wandering throughout the universe becomes eligible for liberation from material existence, he gets an opportunity to associate with the devotees. When he associates with the devotees, his attraction for you is awakened. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal of the Supreme Devotees and the Lord of the universe. Now let us say that he has associated, a person is fortunate enough to have received the association opportunity, and the person takes advantage. What should be done next? How do we overcome the fear? How do we advance towards the supreme goal, the ultimate goal of self-realization? Bhagavatam says, Yashyam Vaishruyamana Manayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsa Shoka Moka Bhayapaha. So if you want to overcome fear, then Yasyam Vaishruyamana Manayam Krishne Paramapurushe. Simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature. Which literature is being talked about here? Bhagavatam. So what is being talked about is Bhagavatam. So simply by giving oral reception to Bhagavatam, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. So if you see, that is what has happened in Narada Muni's life. He has had the opportunity presented to him in the form of the association of the Bhakti Vedantas. There was an opportunity given to him. And what did he do? He actually grabbed that opportunity. And he actually associated. And then what did he do after? He heard Bhagavatam. He heard whatever they had to say. So he gave oral reception to the Vedic literature. And then what happened? Loving devotional service automatically developed in his heart. And what was the result of that? Completely extinguished the fire of lamentation, illusion, fearfulness, to the extent that small boy, his mother passed away. He did not lament. There was no lamentation. And he immediately proceeded in the direction of north and went through all these such Vipinam Mahat, dense forests with all these Nala Sharas Tamba, sorry, forgetting the word. Nalavenu Sharastanba. And then what is the next line? Kusha Kichaka Gahvaram. So all these things, not at all afraid. How did that happen? Just exactly these steps that have been described in these verses of Bhagavatam. So you can see how Bhagavatam's science is a science that can be experientially understood. We can see that in the life of Narada Muni, that whatever Bhagavatam verses are saying, it has come true. So if somebody says, where is the evidence? Here is the evidence. It has exactly been seen. The exact verses have come true in his life. And then, once you hear Bhagavatam, then what is the next step after that? Apanna samshrutim ghoram yannama vivashoghanan tata sadhyo vimuchyate yad bibeti swayam bhayam. Apanna samshrutim ghoram. So this apanna, it is in the tentacles, meshed in the tentacles of samshrutim ghoram. Whatever be our deep entanglement in this material universe, at once be freed from that. Sri Yan Nama Vivashoghanam. Vivashaha means even unknowingly, unconsciously. If you simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That person, this holy names represent that person, Yat Bhibeti Swayam Bhayam. That name, Yan Nama, in that name itself, there is such power that fear personified is fear of him, is afraid of him. Fear personified himself is afraid of the holy name of the Lord. So if you chant that holy name, you will absolutely get liberated from the tentacles into which we are enmeshed in the material world. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. So if anybody is afraid of going to the attic, and I'm one of them, the solution which is given here is, first, when a person is given the opportunity to associate with pure devotees, Sat Samagamaha, Achyuta Sat Samagamaha, that opportunity is presented. we should actually do satsanga. We should actually associate. That is in our free will. We can simply go and be present and come back and not allow the knowledge which is imparted to go inside. But if we do that, we are not benefited. We have to open our heart and accept what has been given. So when we associate, there is a hearing of Bhagavatam that happens. So when we give oral reception, then all these illusions are destroyed. Then the next immediate step is we are able to chant the holy names. And whatever little bit is there, it will completely go away, because the name itself is so powerful that fear personified is afraid of him. And we are chanting in the morning. There is a slide which also says that what is there for me to fear? When you have incarnated, all these dangerous situations are actually your transcendental pastimes. They are transcendental adventures for me, because it is like going on a joyride. If you go, let's say, some theme park, Disney World, something like that, there are various rides that you go through, correct? But at any point, you're not afraid, because there's a secure harness which is there. You cannot fall down. So that secure harness is actually Krishna's incarnation as the holy name. When Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare is incarnated, and that is chanting in our tongue, and that is there in our mind, that is the harness that is protecting us. Therefore, any situation that comes in front of us, we can simply enjoy the ride. Lift your hands and allow the roller coaster to go through. So that is the meaning of the dependence on the Lord. Now this can be seen in the life of Prahlad Maharaj also, and I'll just, with these 2-3 slides, I'll stop. See, Prahlad Maharaj, when the Lord comes in front of him, and Prahlad Maharaj is such a small child, but the Lord places his hand on Prahlad Maharaj, and immediately he starts offering wonderful prayers. One of the prayers that Prahlad Maharaj offers is, No naivo dvije paraduratyaya vaitarayanas Twadvirya gayana mahamrita magna chittaha Shoche tato vimukha chetasa indriyartha Maya sukhaya bharam udvahato vimudhan. No na udvijate para duratyaya vaitarayanas. So here, this duratyaya vaitarayanas is actually the material world. And this material world, Prahlad Maharaj says, I'm not at all afraid. I'm not at all afraid in this material world. There's nothing for me to fear. So normally when the Lord comes in front, what will people ask? A lot of times people ask for liberation. Say, I want to be liberated. Please take me back home, back to Godhead immediately. I don't want to be here even for a minute. This is what somebody will ask. In fact, we have been advised to pray like this and to have this as our goal by Srila Prabhupada. But Prahlad Maharaj is a Nitya Mukta. He is a eternally Nitya Siddha. He is a eternally liberated person. For him, material world, spiritual world, they are all the same. In his absolute vision, he is always remembering his connection with the Supreme Lord. He is not in our Viparyayo Smriti situation like us. So therefore, he is always connected to the Lord. Whether he is here, this is also Vaikuntha only for him. There is no difference between this place and the actual spiritual world. Why? Because he has never in lamentation, because he is always engaged in Mahamrita Magna Chittaha. He is always engaged in contemplating upon the glories of the Supreme Lord. Oh, best of great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I'm fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them. So Prahlad Maharaj does not want to go back home, back to Godhead, by leaving all of us here. He is a Paramahamsa. He is the topmost devotee, and yet he wants us to take us, all of us, with him. He does not want to go alone. This is the mood of a Parivrajakacarya, who is not an ordinary Parivrajakacarya, but a Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya. So let us see what is a Parivrajakacarya, what's a Paramahamsa, and with that we will stop. So there is some quotes by Prabhupada. One is in this purport, where he says, Abhayam Sattva Samsuddhir, with respect to sannyasi. The first qualification of sannyasi is he should be fearless. Because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support, he simply has to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he thinks, after leaving my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect as Paramatma, He's always within. That he's seeing everything and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna as Paramatma will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna and he will give me all protection. Rakshapeksha. That conviction is called abhayam, without fear. And this state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. So abhayam, sattva, samsiddhir, these are one of the divine qualities that are mentioned in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, divine and demoniac nature. So abhayam, sattva, samsiddhir, that is one of the divine qualities. And abhayam, particularly fearlessness, how one develops is by developing dependence on Krishna. So let us see these 4 categories of sannyasa. There are 4 stages in sannyasa, and there's a reference today to one of the stages, Parivrajakacarya. The first stage of sannyasa is called Kutichaka. Kutichaka is Kuti. Kuti means cottage. When a person, after having a retired life, when you enter Vanaprastha, and then you enter the retired life, after that you take sannyas. So there is still some connection to the home, and one person has not fully really overcome the bondage or the affection for the family members. Then the person takes a kuti or a cottage just outside the village, and the food is supplied from the home to that kuti on a daily basis. So whatever food is required, the family members know what food is required, what he eats. So every day the food and whatever necessary supplies are there, they are given. This is the first stage, called Kutichaka. Because he's not accustomed to travel into different places and being away from family for too long. So there is a practice period initially, it's called Kutichaka. And then the next stage is called Bahudaka. Bahudaka stage is when a person realizes that I have given up my family, I have taken sannyas. Why am I taking all these things from them? I should not take any maintenance from my family. I should go away. I should take from everybody. After all, everybody is equal to me. And there is a stage where the person develops a consciousness of Vasudeva Kudumbakam. Vasudeva Kudumbakam means that everybody, the whole world is my family. So why should I take my sustenance only from one family? Rather, let me take little bit from everybody. So that stage, that taking of food, accepting alms from different people, it's called Madhukari. Like a madhu or a honeybee, which takes essence, little bit of essence from every flower. Right? How much can a honeybee carry in one time? Honeybee is so small, and it takes goes into a flower, takes the essence from the flower. How much honey can it collect? Very small, tiny. And then it will go and take the tiny and put it in the beehive. And then after some time, you'll see beehive so much. Of course, Bahudaka is not trying to accumulate like that. But still, because of taking little bit from different houses, it's called Madhukari. And this was actually practiced by Vrindavan Goswamis. They took Madhukari. They used to go to the houses of Vrindavan and take little bit, half chapati, quarter chapati, little bit. And then the next stage is Parivrajakacarya. So at this stage, he thinks, why am I taking all these chapatis and other food from these people without giving anything back? I should give something back. So whatever I have learned, let me impart this knowledge. This is Parivrajakacarya. Parivrajakacarya stage is when the person starts traveling and is not stationary in one place. And he takes whatever little bit alms that he gets, but the primary purpose of the alms is not for his own maintenance, but rather it is to enlighten the people. It is to give instructions to the people and give back to the community and give and raise their level of spiritual awareness. And one is experienced in all these things and is above all material affection. That stage is called Paramahamsa. So Paramahamsa is Prabhupada says Paramahamsa can be either a person who is following impersonalist philosophy, or he can be a devotee. But as it can be seen from Kunti Maharani's prayer, Yata Tatha Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmalanam Bhakti Yoga Prajanartham, no, Vidhanartham. Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham Katham Pashyema Hi Striyaha. Katham Pashyema Hi Striyaha. So in that Kunti Maharani prayer, Tatha, therefore, Tatha Paramahamsanam, therefore you appear, you descend yourself. For what you are descending? Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmananam. To reveal this devotional Vidhanartham, the process of devotional service. To explain the process of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham, to whom? For the Paramahamsas, for the fully liberated souls. And Munina, mental speculators, and um, Amalatmanam, those who are purified, fully purified of material contamination. So those who are Amala Atmanam, those who are fully, the mind is fully purified. There are no material contamination. For such persons also, they cannot understand Bhakti Yoga on their own. Just see the rarity of Bhakti Yoga. Even a Paramahamsa who has gone through the stage of Kutichaka, Bahuda, Parivrajakacarya and reaches Paramahamsa actually cannot understand Bhakti Yoga on his own. Krishna personally descends to instruct such persons, mental speculators, as well as to purify, fully purified. Such persons, Krishna himself descends. So Bhakti Yoga, if somebody has actually mastered Bhakti, that is the next stage of Paramahamsa. He's a Vaishnava Paramahamsa who is actually a pure devotee. And such a devotee, after having reached that stage, he is so compassionate that he cannot see people suffering. And therefore he comes down to Parivrajakacarya stage and he distributes his knowledge to everyone. So you see, the Parivrajakacarya that we are talking about is not this third level Parivrajakacarya from a sannyasi level. It's not just that. Because somebody can become Parivrajakacarya, can travel all over and impart whatever knowledge. I am not the body, he can say. He can say that. That is also Parivrajakacarya. But that's not the glorious Parivrajakacarya we are talking about today. Today's topic of glorious Parivrajakacarya is that like Narada Muni or Srila Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee beyond Paramahamsa, who has received Bhakti Yoga, who has understood and mastered Bhakti Yoga, is a pure devotee. Such a person is distributing love of God by traveling everywhere. So that is the wonderful, wonderful glory, who is completely unafraid of any situation because he is seeing himself in connection to the Lord everywhere. He is not Viparyaya Smriti. So with this, I'll stop here and see if you have any questions on what has been discussed. Abhayam, question is, how do we develop that Abhayam in our day-to-day life when you're practicing sadhana? How do we develop? I think that's where the 3 stages were given. 3 stages. There are 3 stages for developing Abhayam. First is that by good fortune, by causeless mercy of a pure devotee. Although in the Bhagavatam verse it is said that by eligibility to become liberated, but actually we have been taught that it is by causeless mercy of the Guru, by good fortune. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jiva, Kono Bhagyavan Jiva, not by eligibility, fortunate. Guru Krishna Kripa Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. So we are given an opportunity to associate with devotees of the Lord. So therefore we have to associate. Our step is, what is it that we have to do? We have to associate. What is the meaning of association? It means being receptive to instructions given. So we have to not think that this is my personal life. I don't want to share this part of my personal life, because if I reveal this personal life, then I may be given some instructions which I actually don't want to execute. We are caught in that bind, right? If somebody gives us an instruction, we know that we should not break that instruction. That much we know. But because we are afraid of the instruction, what might come may not be very palatable, we sometimes lock away portions of our personal life and not open our heart to the devotees. But we open our heart to materialistic persons, considering them as friends. So who we put our friendship energy, we have got a desire to friendship, be friends. That is soul's property, is to have association with other living entities. Krishna himself wants association with all the living entities. He enjoys that. So in our heart, we have the propensity to enjoy relationship with other living entities, correct? But what we are doing is, we are putting that energy of faith that this friend is actually impartial. He will accept me for who I am. This friend is non-judgmental. So I can say what I want to say without receiving adverse criticism or without receiving instructions which I don't want to execute. With this attitude, we make friends. And then there is a devotee who is actually a well-wisher. Vancha kalpatara Kripa Sindhu bhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. So Kripa Sindhu, Vaishnava, is an ocean of mercy. Suhridam sarva bhutanam. Krishna is our dearmost benefactor, and he is asking us to associate with his devotees. So there is actually no greater well-wisher than a pure devotee and his servants. But we hold back. we don't associate really. We hold back and we put more faith in our friendships. Even in the community of devotees, we are all patients coming to a hospital for treatment. Sometimes when you come to the hospital, there's a ward, waiting ward. Everybody will be standing like this and everybody is curious what disease he has got, what disease that person has got. And then you see somebody limping, somebody coughing. Oh, okay, I'm better. I don't have that problem. At least I have got only this problem, right? Like that. Everybody who's coming here has got some problem or the other. So if we start to associate with other members of the congregation more than how much we associate with devotees, it will hamper our advancement. We should have an open heart with dadati pradigrihnati guhyamata akhyati prachati should be there with congregation members, but with the devotees it should be much more, because we have to understand that they are also diseased. Everybody is diseased here except for the devotees who are fully surrendered to Prabhupada. They are in a position where they can actually give us treatment. You go to a doctor and don't tell the problem, what will happen? You don't get treatment. So associating with devotees means being free and not having filters. Then the second step, the devotee will give us, what he will give us? Bhagavatam. We will hear Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam should be given oral reception. And previously we had studied last Sunday how reflecting upon that is very important. What is the meaning of oral reception? It means taking it to our heart. If somebody says, let us say that somebody says, oh, it's going to be very cold tomorrow. It's going to be only 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Please come prepared with jacket and proper protection. What will you do? Will you just take it and pull it out? No. That I'll take very seriously. Thank you very much for that knowledge. And I'll wear proper protection and come. Correct? We're reflecting on that. And just before leaving, we're recalling that instruction. We're dressing appropriately. Before you take bath also, you think, oh, today is going to be cold. Yesterday I've been told. So many times we're contemplating on that and we're acting on it. And therefore we feel warm in the end. We don't feel the cold because we have taken the instruction, contemplated on it, acted on it. So similarly, when we hear Bhagavatam class, we have to have a takeaway. There has to be one, at least, action item, some reflection that, oh, this is where I am lacking. This is where I need to improve. That takeaway should be there. And then that is called oral reception. And the next stage is chanting. So we saw Yasyam vai Shruyamana Yam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhakti Utpadyate Pumsam Swayam Yad Bhibeti Swayam Bhayam Shokamoha Bhayapaha. Shokamoha Bhayapaha. So chanting of the holy name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Fear himself is afraid of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. What is there for us? It is like holding the harness. You are in the harness and you are going on the ride. What is that harness? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Then whatever happens is a transcendental adventure. Whatever happens, let it happen. That is the way. Of course, it takes us contemplation and practice, and that is why we are called sadhakas. So, any other questions? So, can you please come on the camera? No, yet? No, not in Bhagavatam class. Okay. We'll stop here. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Gaur Premanand.